The question of freedom and responsibility has been a central theme in philosophy since ancient times. The fundamental question is whether we are truly free to choose our actions or whether our actions are determined in some way. This question raises important ethical and metaphysical implications that have been debated for centuries. 1. The debate between free will and determinism. One of the oldest debates in philosophy is the apparent conflict between free will and determinism. Free will holds that we are capable of making free and responsible decisions about our actions. In contrast, determinism claims that all actions are determined by prior causes and therefore we have no real control over our choices. Proponents of determinism argue that everything in the universe is subject to causal laws that determine each event. From this perspective, our actions are no different, they are determined by a causal chain that goes back to the beginning of the universe. According to this view, the idea of freedom is an illusion, since our actions are predetermined by forces beyond our control. On the other hand, free will advocates argue that the subjective experience of making free decisions is real and meaningful. Although our actions may be influenced by internal and external factors, we still have the ability to choose between different options and take responsibility for those choices. 2. Philosophical perspectives on freedom and responsibility. Throughout the history of philosophy, various perspectives have been proposed to address the problem of freedom and responsibility. For example, the Stoics believed in the idea of fatum or destiny, which implied that everything in the universe was determined by divine reason. However, the Stoics also believed that we had the freedom to choose how to respond to the circumstances presented to us, which implied a form of freedom within cosmic determinism. The existentialists, on the other hand, emphasized the idea of radical freedom. Philosophers like Sartre and Camus argued that we are responsible not only for our actions, but also for giving meaning and authenticity to our lives through our choices. For existentialists, freedom was a fundamental characteristic of human existence, and responsibility was the burden of creating meaning in a seemingly absurd world. 3. Ethical and social implications. The question of freedom and responsibility also raises important ethical and social questions. If our actions are determined, how can we justify punishment for criminal acts? Should we hold people responsible for actions they did not freely choose? These questions have been debated in fields such as ethics, law, and politics. On the other hand, if we accept the idea that we are free, how does this affect our moral responsibility? Are we responsible for all our actions, even those that appear to be influenced by factors beyond our control? These questions raise important ethical challenges and can have significant implications for our understanding of morality and justice. 4. Conclusions and final reflections. Ultimately, the question of freedom and responsibility is a complex and multifaceted topic that has occupied philosophers for centuries. While we may never come to a definitive answer, reflection on this topic can lead us to a greater understanding of ourselves and our relationship with the world around us. Through exploring these questions, we can learn more about the nature of freedom, responsibility, and the human condition in general.